Hello, Holistic Heroes. So I have an amazing guest today. Karen Hall, also known as the Queen of Empathy, has just met the King of Empathy. And so we are going to be talking about an empathetic journey. Wow, it's been a long day. And how emotional intelligence can actually build trust in relationships. So how does that look for you? Tell me about like the big picture.
Well, Lily of the Light, I am so grateful that you are such a bright soul. You are such an incredible encourager. And this topic is something that we really need. We need more empathy in the world and we need more love. And so, thank you for having me on to talk about this, my favorite topic. A lot of times I describe the world as being hungry for positivity. I feel like there's a spiritual hunger, that there's a a need for more positive in our life, and as we are dealing with so many other negative things that are going on personally in our situations in the world, it just helps to have a focus on love. And so in empathy, a lot of times we think about empathy as walking a mile in the other person's shoes, but empathy is a lot more than that. Empathy is really being able to understand and being in sync with you and what you're feeling and what your experience is, and believing it from your perspective. A lot of times when we try to walk in a mile in the other person's shoes, we think, well, they shouldn't be walking in those shoes, or they shouldn't be doing it that way, or they're wrong for this or that or the other thing. And we have judgment. And so, and we still might think we're being empathetic while we're being judgmental, but true empathy is when we remove that judgment and we just be with that person in their situation.
Yes, I love that. It's being in the present moment with somebody. And I think a lot of times, something that we actually learned for the people who are watching, I met Karen Hall at the Dallas event where we spoke on 6 stages in 5 days to be inspirational speakers nationwide. It was absolutely fabulous. And one of the things we were taught was feedback. Like, you can say, no, I don't want feedback. And I feel like everyone gives their unsolicited opinion and think it's empathic. They're like, let me tell you about you. No, bitch,
Right.
no. And you had said earlier, people are craving positivity. I think people crave positivity, but in this day and age, they're addicted to negativity. It's it's the hate bait. It's what gets your blood pumping to the point where it's in algorithms. I don't know if you know that, but on the algorithms, you want to know the reaction that gets the most engagement, gets the algorithm to bump your post the most. Guess. Anger, hatred. That's the reaction that gets the most bumped up in algorithms on social media because hate is rewarded more than empathy and love and positivity. No
Oh,
thumbs up, no heart, no smiley face gets as much as anger and hatred does. Yeah.
whoa. That says so much about our society. Oh my word. And you know what's so interesting what you just said? I see so many people that use anger to, like you said, get their blood flowing, get their juices flowing mentally. Some people like to start their day off with an argument so that all of a sudden they feel more alive. I know people like that. And it is, I think it is addicting.
Mm-hmm. And I am now singing the best part of waking up is picking a fight. Like I'm just sitting here like, oh my God, but I can see it. I'm sitting there going, yep, I am sure people do that. They're like, the way I'm gonna start this day is by ruining someone else's day. I'm gonna piss in someone's cornflakes. And it's so true. And it's something that I feel that a lot of people gravitate towards not necessarily the highest vibration, but the loudest vibration. And that's very different. The loudest energy in the room is normally like a negative one. And so you see it all the time. Like it's in mob mentality, it's in high school culture, it's studies, scientific studies. And it's this you can get whipped into a tizzy by anybody, and then everyone's in a tizzy, and then it's a problem. And I wish that positivity was as communicable, as contagious, as plague like as negativity is, but it isn't. And Emotional intelligence with empathy, it's not walking a mile in someone else's shoes. It's just being present and open with them. And while the author of the book, The Five Love Languages, is a twat waffle and is a horrible human being, I think it opened up the door to the concept of love languages. And so one of mine is physical touch. One of my family members hates being touched. Like, doesn't. You want to know what the compromise is? Because that's the thing. I feel like emotional intelligence is also compromise. It's meeting people. So they know for me to feel like they don't hate me, I have to have some kind of physical contact. We high five before they leave. And then if we are sitting next to each other, which doesn't happen often, but if we're sitting next to each other on a couch, they will sit at the other far end and shoot a foot at me, and I get to hold an ankle. And I am happy with the ankle. I do not need to snuggle up next to anybody. I want the ankle. And that is our, it's empathy. It's in the present moment. What do you need? And what can I give? What can I give without losing any part of myself or wanting to kick you in the face? And it's an ankle. And I'm happy with the ankle because I know that it's like, yep, this is us actually meeting in the middle, that both of us are perfectly fine with this. Is it weird? 100%. Is it me? Absolutely.
Interesting about that is that took incredible emotional intelligence to get there, because you were self-aware. You recognized, that you need physical touch. You were also other aware that this person, that was not their love language and they preferred not to touch. And then you had the social skills to be able to figure out, how can we make this be a win-win? And then you found it, and then you were okay with it. And you were motivated to do that thing that was a win-win. It's a perfect example of emotional intelligence right there.
And here's the hump, everybody. Here's the hurdle that you have to get over: the awkward conversation, because it will be awkward. Like, emotional intelligence does not mean, empathy does not mean that it's not awkward. Like, I'm socially awkward. I miss social cues all the time. Like, I fake it very well by being loud and irreverent, but don't get me wrong, I miss so many social cues. And you have to be okay with having the uncomfortable conversation, because that conversation, like, took some time and took like, God, you want another hug? I just really don't like you as a person anymore. And I'm going, oh my God. And then to get over the, like, oh my God, to be like, why? And then they go, I don't like touching. And I'm like, I did not know that. I was unaware that touching was not something that you did. And it's so funny because so many members of my family, we hug, we walk up to each, like, we're not like a touchy feely, but like, you will pat someone on the back as you walk by. It's just normal. Like, it's not like, oh, rubbing up against anybody, but like, we'll pat each other on the back as we walk by. You don't walk past someone and not touch them. You show affection by like patting. And this poor family member can't stand physical touch. And then they've got all the rest of us who are like, we're not going to let you live without being touched every single goddamn day. And so I find it interesting that people think that because you have emotional intelligence, because you have empathy, that it's not awkward or hard. It's like, oh no, it's very awkward. It's very hard. And you mess it up. And sometimes you fight with people. And here's a question. Is there incompatibility, or is there always a compromise in a way? Oh yeah, I went there.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh no. I think that there are times when it's very difficult to find a compromise. I mean, the typical example that usually comes up is, should we get pregnant or should we not? I mean, it's very difficult to find a compromise between there. You might say adoption, that's not the same. That's a different option, but the option to get pregnant or to not, that's one that's pretty difficult to have two opposite polar opinions and find.
That's a black and white type of conversation.
Yes. And there are times when your need is so high to not be touched and their need is so high to be touched that it feels very similar. It usually isn't, but it oftentimes feels that way. And what I think is very interesting about what you did, Lily, is another factor of your emotional intelligence was you didn't attach meaning to that. And even if you did in the very beginning,
Mhm.
You worked through that. And a lot of times that's what happens is we make that mean that the person doesn't want, that they're not giving us affection, or
Yeah.
they're cringing when we give them affection. We think, oh, that means they don't care about us, or they don't love us, or they're not receiving my love.
Mhm.
And then we turn it around to make it mean something about our relationship, which it
Yes.
doesn't necessarily mean. It could mean that, but it doesn't
Yep.
necessarily mean that. And so to step back and to pause and to take stock in the situation. And I sense that you had more than one conversation about this topic, that it was awkward, and you kind of went maybe layer by layer and maybe chipped away at the
Mhm.
topic. And what happened? You came to a win-win, and there is peace in the relationship. And then, because you cared about that person, because they cared about you, and because you had empathy for each other and each other's needs and situations, you have harmony and you have peace, and you have a lot more trust in that relationship than you would have if you would have held on to the fact that that person didn't care about you.
Yeah, and I think it's when we say relationship, we mean any connection with anyone. And then the other part is sometimes it involves multiple people, especially if you're in like a family or a friend group, that it's like, yeah, sometimes needs aren't being met or someone else is going to meet a need. Like I do body work, and I have a friend who their love language is like touch, and so I give them a massage but no one else does. And so if I'm sick or something, they're not getting their their needs met. And it blew my mind because I asked everyone else, I'm like, it's not hard. Like I get that I'm trained, but it's not hard to give a shoulder rub. Like just do it while you're watching a movie. And everyone was like, no. And I was like, oh, that's like a, but then that was their boundary. This was not a compromise thing. That was, I'm not going to do this. And so it was like, oh, so then that person only gets massages from me. And that's fine, you
Right.
know. But it's being aware. It's like, because I assumed that someone else picked up the shoulder rub when I wasn't available or was sick or traveling for a month. Nope, no one was. And I was like, that is good to know. But now that I know that, I will adjust so that I see them slightly more frequently,
Right.
so that it's slightly more structured. It because yeah, sometimes it involves more than one person, that it's like, oh, that, and I don't view it as a hardship to do body work. I think the human body is beautiful. I'm trained in it. Why not? Type of thing. I think that a lot of people get stuck, like you said, in that first emotion of like, oh, they don't like me, they don't care about me. And I would like to discuss that we're human and humans change. Oh my God. And that there's shit that happens often. And sometimes, like, you just don't have the bandwidth that day, or you don't
Mhm.
have the bandwidth that month or that year or whatever. Like, I'm sorry if I have a feeling, because this is what my mother and many people who have given birth have said to me. When I was pregnant, if one more person touched me, I would have cut off their hand and not felt bad. Right at the joint. And I'm sitting here going, yep, that would be me. The second that stick turned pink, I'd be like, nobody touch me. If you touch me, I you asked for it. That's what we're doing. We're now fighting. And if you punch me, then you're gonna be a monster to everybody. But it's like, so for 9 months to a year, even if like I've had so many people, women who have given birth, pregnant people who've been like, I just don't want to be touched anymore because everyone's walking up and touching them, and I'd be like, I'd be the same way. I'd be, I don't care how much I like hugs and cuddles and pats on the back. I'd be like, nobody touch me for the next year,
Oh,
and then
and you're
everyone.
absolutely, yeah, you're absolutely right. We do change. We change within one day. Like at the end of the day, we may not have the same capacity to handle the stress that we did earlier in the day. Maybe our cup is so full by that time with negativity. Maybe we've used every ounce of patience that we could at in other interactions during that day. And so for whatever reason, we may not have the same bandwidth. And I think that is so important, because if I have empathy for you, I might be saying, wait a second, why aren't you acting the same way that you did yesterday? But if I have empathy, I'm going to say to myself, wonder what's going on with you. Tell me more about how your day went today. And I'm sensing something, whatever it is that I'm sensing from you. I'm sensing that you're off somehow. I opened the gate for you to feel safe, to share with me what those feelings are. And if I come at it with the energy that I convey love to you and you feel that love, then usually you do feel safer. You may not feel 100% safe, but you feel safer. And you may venture out and give me a crumb to see, do I react with judgment? Do I react with condemnation? Or do I react with curiosity? Do I continue to show that love and acceptance to you, or however you're feeling? And if that is the pattern and you do feel that way, then you feel safe to tell more and to share more, and that increases trust even more.
Yes, and I feel like it's that open communication of you. This is not like a one and done type thing. It's you continually build trust and evolve with somebody. And you know me, like you saw me in Dallas, and I am a living cartoon character. I do not hide that at all, nor would I want to. And I think that a really big thing that is difficult for me with exactly what we're talking about is if I am not out loud and proud, if I am not a cartoon character, I have had people walk up to me at events and go, "What is wrong with you?" Not, "Are you sick? Can I get you something?" Not like you said, come with openness and trust and gentleness. No, it's like, I'm not really. I've had more than one person look at me and say, "This is not the you I wanted. I'm gonna leave. When I come back, you better be the cartoon that I wanted."
Oh,
I'm like, and I'm sitting there going after working a 10-hour day at an event, like barely holding it together. It's like, I want to eat. I want to pass out. I'm fairly certain I'm not wearing deodorant. And you just can't anymore. But people are like, no, you have to, like, they're not sitting there going, "Oh, you've worked 10 hours. You must be tired." They're like, "No, I'm gonna come back and you better put on the heels, you dancing monkey." And
that feels like conditional love, that you're not loved for being who you are at that moment.
yeah, and it's that I have to be the persona, which is fine. Like my persona is my authentic self. And if I'm tired, I'm not as loud. I'm not as outrageous. I'm not as, and people are like, "No, I came for that version of you." And I'm just like, I can't, I am tired. And now
Right,
I want a
exactly.
cookie and a nap. And I want someone to tell me I'm pretty while I like look horrible after an event. Like, and that, so I feel like that's another example that it's if you come to someone and you're like, "This is not the you I wanted," even if they're being an asshole, like come at it with gentle curiosity and respect. Because I feel like if we came at things respectfully, so many fights would be avoided. Like if someone is short with me and I'm like, "Hey, what you said kind of stung a little. Are you okay? Like, do you need a cookie? Because I'll DoorDash you a cookie." I have when I find out that someone's having a really crap day, I will DoorDash them flowers. I will DoorDash them chocolate, and they'll be like, "Oh my God." And I'm like, "Yeah, I get it." That's what I want people to do for me when I'm like, I'm having a hard day. I want someone to be like, "What do you want DoorDash? What do you want? I'm gonna have something delivered. What do you want?" You know?
Right.
And because that I very much accept like gifts of food. You know,
Yes.
I'm a very food motivated person. Um, but no, that this is an amazing complex conversation that we could talk about for hours. It is so frustrating though. This is
Mhm.
such a hard topic to talk about because of how difficult everyone is with it,
Mhm.
because of how limiting people put on their own emotional intelligence. And then they go, "Well, that's just, oh, I love this excuse. That's just who I am."
Oh, I know.
You're a twat waffle. That's what you are. Like, go sit in the back. Don't talk to me. It it is very much like it's funny, but it's also sad that people are like, "No, this is who I am." And I'm like, "But this is what I need." I'm not saying I want this. I'm like, "This is what I need." And they're like, "No." And I'm like, "Oh, bye." Like, no shame, no blame, but bye. If you lack the capacity to meet my needs, my emotional needs, you ain't gonna be in my life. I am not the, I'm gonna wait around for them to become a real boy. Nope, nope. Send them back to Build-A-Bitch and get me a different model because I'm not wasting my time. That one's missing a few parts.
Well, and you're so right, though. So many people say that's just how I am. Just take it or leave it, kind of a thing. Well, okay. There's one thing about being honest and owning it, but then yes, then we get to choose. Do we want to continue that interaction, that relationship? Maybe that isn't something that is a win-win for either one of us.
Yes.
If that person isn't even open to the
Yeah.
possibility of growing,
No,
what does that say? So
it's almost weaponized authenticity.
right. Yes, it
Where it's
is.
like, this is who I am, take it or leave it. And I'm like, leaving. Leave. I don't even have to think about it. Leaving. Because I find that people who are toxic say that. I've never
Mhm.
heard someone who isn't toxic say something like that.
It's so
I've always been like,
true.
I'm authentic, but I've never like, this is just the real me. If you don't like it, I'm like, don't get me wrong, like I am openly queer. If you don't like that, there's the door. Never speak to me again. We won't get along. If you if you believe genocide is okay, again, we're not going to. Like there are some things that I'm like, yep, there's no way I'm going to compromise with you on this. Go away. But there are so many things that it's like I believe we have so many more similarities than we have differences, but
Yes.
everyone wants to pay attention to the differences and what makes them special and stand out. And like besides a business model, you should be looking at the similarities you have with people to see what that can do for you and what that can be like for you. Because if you're just sitting there going, okay, you and I are different heights, you and I are different weights, you and I live in different states, you and I have different specialties. Oh my God, what a bitch. How stupid does that sound?
Exactly. And you know what's so interesting? Going back to the positivity, if I celebrate the wonderful things in you and I look for commonalities and I celebrate those things, it spirals upward. I will find even more things that we have in common. Once
Yes.
I identify one thing, I'll say, "Oh, and you like talking about empathy too? Oh, me too. Oh, you like laughter? Me too." And we will find more and more and more. And that creates a stronger cohesion in the relationship. We feel more unified. We see the humanity in each other, that we're not separate, that we are
Yes.
actually more alike, just like you said, then we are different. And
Yes.
that increases trust as well.
Absolutely. And so, like, those are the examples that I said. But when I think about it, I'm like, we're both feminine presenting people. We both talk about empathy. We're both business owners. We're both successful speakers. We're both articulate. We're both super compassionate. Like, I, when I met you, I was like, oh, this is a cool human. I didn't think like this is someone exactly like me because, quite frankly, that would be a lot having two of me in a room. I'm loud. I take up a lot of space. But I like when you think about the things, because we live in different states. Does that even matter when we both love compassion so much? Like, do the differences even matter unless they're like the big deal breakers, like a Nazi? Unless they're that, it's like when I think about the things that we have in common, they're so much more powerful. They're so much more amazing. There's so much like it makes me happy. I'm sitting here going, yes, this sounds fun. And so I see it that way also. Like emotional intelligence is being able to go, okay, this is what we have different. Yeah, but look at all this awesome. This is cool. I think we play with it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's that focus because they're both there, and we can choose which way we want to focus. Do we want to focus on the good? Do we want to focus on the commonality? Do we want to focus on what elevates and raises that vibration? When you and I have a stronger relationship with each other, that energy permeates. It doesn't just stay within us. It affects the vibration of others around us, and that lifts the vibration of the world because it ripples outward and we don't even know how far it goes.
Exactly. So if someone wanted to work with you about empathy, about emotional intelligence, about all the fabulousness that you do, how can they get a hold of you?
So they could find me on LinkedIn. I'm Karen Hall, the Empathy Advantage. My email is karenhallcoaching@gmail.com. And my website is karenhallcoaching.com. And I have a quiz there for to know what is your emotional intelligence.
Ooh, we love quizzes here. That is good. I'm going to take that. I am taking that uh, when we get off this. So thank you so much for joining us. For all the listeners and viewers, thank you so much. Remember that if you found this entertaining or helpful, to like it And then if you want to see more content like this, you should follow or subscribe. And if you have questions, comments, concerns, bop them in the comments. We are here to help. We want you to be living your best life, and we just want to be there and celebrate with you as you do it. So go forth, be the hero of your own story, and do not forget to be offensively authentic.
Thank you, Lily. Thank you for your light. You just brightened my day, and I appreciate all the love that you are spreading in the world.
Ditto, bitch. Ditto. Fabulousness radiating off you. Yes.
Thank you.